Hey, what's up? It's Dan McDonald, and I made a video on semen retention, and it was directed mainly at the men, trying to help them to understand that porn sucks and the over-sexualization of everything sucks. I mean, sexual energy or procreative or creative energy is awesome, but what we've done in our society using sex to basically manipulate everything, and it's coming from all sides, everywhere, and it does take some maturity in life to begin to see through it. But if you can catch it at a younger age and begin to cultivate and nurture that reproductive energy, it will definitely be a blessing to you in the long run. So I got a lot of requests from the ladies about how continence would work for them. Now, I'm not an expert in this field because I'm not a woman, so I anticipate there may be some, whatever, negativity projected at me, but just because, you're not a woman, blah, 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 and stuff. I have looked into the subject, and there's far less information on, female semen retention, which is, a ridiculous way to put it, but there's a lot of semen retention. That is the kind of the biggest buzzword that's being used right now on the internet. Semen retention, continence, chastity, celibacy, and brahmacharya. Women can be brahmacharya. It's a little bit different because the female is definitely generally more of a receiver of energy. So men, they kind of go out, they hunt, they rub across the carpet of life, out and about, being a bit more active in that way, creating a positive charge. They go around, their mind, their heart, their body is stimulated by the environment. They're kind of like a balloon, if you will, an electronic balloon scraping across the carpet of life and charging up that positive polarity. And then the female, or the feminine, being more of the receptive energy, so, and then he comes home and she's receptive and he puts all that charge into her, and releases it. I think if he's smart, I'm not, absolutely black and white adamant about this, but it just seems to me that the smartest thing to do would be to, preserve the fluid. I call it the golden oil, but the fluid of life, the creative life force energy for the procreation of children, and if not, for the creation of a magnificent life, because a man is extremely motivated when he has sexual energy, and when he discharges it, he loses a certain part of that motivation, for sure. That's the whole reason men do anything, is because they want to, they want to do it. But if you are masturbating, then you lose that energy, then you play video games and you smoke weed and you're 37 and you're living in your mom's basement. So that was the general gist of that last video. Now women are wondering, what can we do? With the women, they do receive that energy, but the thing mostly with the women is you want to be very well aware of the dude that you're doing it with, or you're not doing it at all, because you're getting up all his stuff. So you wouldn't want an unclean man physically that stinks or is unhealthy, and you wouldn't want a man that's energetically unclean, because then you're absorbing that, and then you wonder why am I crying all the time? Why am I overly emotional? And then that time of the month comes to clean out all that energy, and then depending upon how clean and pure you've lived that month with your diet and with your intimacy or sexual activity, and also exercise and emotional habits and environment and everything else. And so, like, the worse the diet, the worse the guy that you're sleeping with, and the worse your exercise and living habits, the heavier your period and detoxification is going to be, and maybe also the more scrambled up your life is going to be. So ultimately, when it comes to the side of the women, they, in the Chinese tradition, it's called the little death for the man when he has an orgasm, and for the woman when she has a child, it's called the big death, because when you lose your seed, you lose your life, a little small part of your life energy. When you have a baby, it takes a lot out of you. So everybody has their part to play in the reproductive game, and I think that ultimately you want to be efficient with that, right? You want to be as efficient as possible. So you can't say right or wrong, you better do what I tell you, but it's really a matter of being conscious about it. And this is 24 years of being aware of semen retention, if you will, and then later on finding out more and more in depth about it, and then just also being very horny. I'm a guy, my whole life, and doing it a lot, and most of it was, I don't have any bad thing to say about a single woman that I knew in my life, honestly. I really just don't. But would I go back and not do that? Probably about 95% of them, And now I would be far more conscientious, and it would be very deliberate, very intentional. Not like, I wouldn't like sign a contract or like turn it into too much of a mental ping pong or anything like that. Like, here, sign this contract. Do you promise to be faithful to the very end or whatever? But there would have to be a very powerful level of communication and understanding so that both parties can trust and let go. So there's no real hurry to make sure, especially if you're a woman, to make sure, is this dude really going to show up, or are you just sweet talking? Is he sweet talking you? Because us dudes, we know what to do. We know how to do it. We know how to get in. But what happens after we get in? And that's what you got to find out about this guy. Is he just trying to get in? And then once he's in, then I'm dropped, or then I'm lesser respected, which is true. Like, a woman that really has a high level of integrity and boundaries for herself and high levels of standards, that forces the man to raise his standards. But when the women, they're just like, I love him, he's handsome, he's got money, whatever, let's try this, and then you could end up being just losing 6 months or years of your life by, being with the wrong dude, having a child with the wrong dude, being abused by the wrong dude. But a lot of these things happen at the subconscious level due to the nature of the programming from childhood. So these are hard lessons we learn along the way, but just for tidbits of information to share, with the women, is be very conscientious about the men that you're letting them put their thing inside of you. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that you have to be like so tight that you could stick a coal up there and get a diamond out, but I mean, you want to have high standards and high boundaries, because that'll force the man to have higher standards and higher boundaries. And then if you're like, well, hey, you're handsome, you've got a great job, but I just don't just jump into the sack, because a lot of us do that, and we always did that in our youth. It's like, oh, whatever, they're handsome and it's a night out and we're drunk, let's do it. And then you get all caught up and twisted up and tangled up with a lot of oxytocin, and then the next thing you know, you're in some kind of thing with somebody that is a loser, and now you're all tangled up in some mess. So that's something you want to be very conscientious of. Finally, when a woman maintains and doesn't orgasm either, there's a lot of energy that builds up inside of her that can be directed. So the overall, overarching assessment, which is the overall generality, is that sexual energy is creative energy. And if it is not released, it can be directed. And so you got to take that with what you will. So as you mature and you get cleaner and cleaner, and you preserve the fluid for a man, or the sexual energy itself, then you actually get stronger and stronger, and more clearer and brighter and more focused and more intentional And the same thing I believe with women. I'm not a woman, so I can't speak from experience, but from what I've known and what I've seen, some of the most creative women are women that don't masturbate as well. And I know a lot of women are going to be like, what are you talking about, bro? I got a couple times a month, I get stressed out and it clears my pipe, you know what I mean? I understand that. But imagine if you could take that energy, that stress and that tension and learn to, you know, manifest it and utilize it. And finally, you know, at last would be a man and a woman who are, you know, when they, for specific, because the bonding is definitely created and beneficial in a committed relationship to make intimacy, for sure. But if a man and a woman have a project that they'd like to do, like create a superhuman baby, chastity and celibacy between each other can be very useful. If they've got some kind of money goal they're trying to achieve, and the polarity builds and builds, and they direct that energy between them, the love that they have, the energy that they have, the attraction between the negative and the positive polarity, and they keep building that up together and aim it at a specific goal, then the couple that practices retention together can do amazing things, particularly for, you know, short periods of time and directed at one goal. Because the man and the woman, they say, hey, let's just be chaste until we get the house. You know what I'm saying? Or let's be chaste until I'm ovulating and we're financially stable. And then we build up that major, incredibly powerful polarity, and then bam, it's just the first time that you want to make a child. It's right there because the receptivity is so high, and the push and the power of the positive polarity of the masculine energy is so high as well. So these are just overall, you know, basic little sharings. There's nothing black and white about it. Everyone should be like a fluid being, but to summarize, really what you could say is that, you know, for the young men and the women, the young men, the young women, the mature men, the mature women, I mean, you know, be conscientious with your sexual energy, and don't take anything I say and turn it into some kind of like biblical religion. Just contemplate it and find out what works for you. But this video is about the men and the women being, you know, sexually conscious, understanding that it is the most powerful energy in the universe, and it can be utilized for a great many things above and beyond just the three lower chakras, basically. It's important to balance those, but you can bring that energy up into a higher level and utilize that for creative purposes. So hopefully you understand what I'm saying. I mean, I love everyone, and I'm not an expert in any of this. I mean, if I told you, you know, like what I've been through, you'd be like, oh, this guy, at least he's talking from, don't be an idiot is basically what I'm saying. Like, I've been a fool. Thank God, you know, I made it through relatively unscathed, believe it or not, through all this. And now I have a chance to sort of clean up my heart, clean up my mind, and maybe, you know, be involved again. Because that was one of the questions on the interview that I did with Jillian, which should be coming any day now. But, you know, like, what's the deal? And it's like, well, you know, here's the deal. And we kind of started crying and stuff. So I believe in, like, you know, being as conscious as you can and not being an idiot, basically, which what I don't want to judge myself like that. That's a little harsh, but nobody trained me. I didn't have any thinking. And you learn the hard way through pain and suffering. And, you know, but just be conscientious of your relationships. Don't take them for granted, but also don't let yourself be taken advantage of either. You have to always be on point. You have to be very honest with yourself, and you have to be very brave, and you have to have a lot of faith, that if, something isn't going the way that you really think that it should, you'll have to have the courage to free yourself from that, and a lot of this, when it comes to relationships and stuff, it takes a lot of guts, because people kind of get stuck, and at the same time, they also give up too easy too. So like, love is unconditional and infinitely powerful, but there are some irreconcilable types of things, that take place. So I know the relationship game is not hard, but it's not easy, but love yourself. Ultimately, I'll try to sum it up like this. I tend to ramble on after I've made my point, but if God is at the center of your relationship, that's going to be a very good starting point, or whatever you want to call it, divinity, or the highest intention, or the source, or the good of all, or the oneness, or the unity consciousness, or the field, or the absolute, or Jehovah, or whatever you want to call it. And then, that's number one, is just make God first. I wouldn't even consider it unless God is like number one. It's like God first, and then, you want to do that, and then we can be, homies. It's kind of like God first, and then, depending on your school of thought, depending on where you're at in your life, then it would be you next. Or if you've made a certain level of commitment and you're a real, true saintly type, you put the other first. That's the highest level of love, putting the other first. But then there's a lot of dysfunction too, where you get caught up in these dysfunctional relationships, and then you just destroy yourself, and then 15, 20 years later you wake up and you realize, well, I wasted my life. Oopsie daisy. It's never too late though to, reassess and readjust and rejuvenate. You're full of life essence. And so depending upon your school of thought, but either which way, I believe that the source, I call it God just for oversimplification purposes, and that's how I view it, but the absolute, power and magnificence of the universe, creative all-being principle, of just infinite love and peace and joy and bliss and everything in between and below and above that. So the absolute first, and then, like I said, either you put yourself or the other, but you then the relationship. So in other words, the relationship comes second. And if two people can line up with the divine, and then chill and do good things together, whether that's make children or do businesses or whatever. Like a woman, she's got all her amazing talents, and the dude, he's got his thing. And if you can get together and be like, yo, we make a great team, you stay home and or make my sandwich so that when I go I don't have to, whatever, everyone's got their thing, and you can just decide to accept what roles you want to play and make great things happen. And romance and love is one of the most beautiful things about being a human being, but also it gets a little too much overly emphasized, and then certain things get put on the backside just because your lower chakras are like on overdrive, and then some of the upper chakras can get neglected. And so what you're looking for is an integration. And I hate to use chakras because it's so far beyond like even the concept of chakras and stuff, but it's a good model to say you got to have all the aspects of your life balanced and harmonized, and that includes your relationships, and that includes your relationship with yourself. And so there's a lot of adjustment that needs to be taking place there, and then there's a lot of adjustment with the divine, which is the self. And then you've got to find out, can you align yourself with another person? There will always be sacrifices to be made. And so in the relationship, and so you got to decide, do you want to make those sacrifices for the good of the relationship, or does the relationship, have that much value to me, and then you can decide whether or not you want to make those sacrifices. I mean, being single is cool, and being in a relationship is cool. I'm not a real big poly kind of guy, and especially now. Now I'm more of a divine union kind of guy, but I had to wake up the hard way, you know. And so now I'm definitely more, I was like, oh, rambling on. But yeah, now I'm more of a divine union kind of guy. And if it isn't like a divine union, then I'm not interested. But that's what it took. 50 years, made love to like 100 women. I don't hate to say it. I'm not ashamed and I'm not proud either. It's just, I'm neutral about it. I did what we do. You do it. You do it because that's what we're supposed to do, and all these things. And none of the things led to a sense of fulfillment and happiness. So, maybe now I'm mature enough, but who knows, Oh, this is a real tight squeeze, gentlemen. Anyways, we're going to get through here. I'm just cruising through the neighborhood now. Anyway, this is a hell of a nice neighborhood. This is the neighborhood, as a matter of fact. I got this Mercedes I got to deliver. Anyways, I wanted to make a video because there's a perfect little thing right there. Can you dig it? So hopefully I said something nice, but I got nothing but love for everybody. And it's impossible to make videos and speak words that make any sense. But if you can transmit an essence, the essence of what I'm saying is near and dear to my heart. It's like love and God and relationships and this brief little microscopic journey that we have on earth. I guess what I would say is, don't take your relationships for granted, because they could be gone any second, and then you'll be sad for a while. And then don't let anybody take advantage of you, so be wise, be awake, be aware, and contemplate and dig deep in on this stuff. And there's many different layers of many different types of relationships, but I guess maybe it takes 25 minutes or whatever just to say that just try to cultivate love, unconditional love, instead of, hey, you've got a nice vagina and I've got a nice penis, we're in love, it's amazing, we're twin flames, whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, like, really try to cultivate love. And that's for every area of your life. So hopefully I said something today that's cool. These are the kind of videos I'm not that comfortable with. It's like, hey, carrots have beta carotene. Have a nice day. I'm a little more safe saying that. But these are the ones where I take a little bit more of a risk to try to stretch myself a little bit and just speak on the fly from my heart, and see if there's anything I can do to be of service to all the great people out there that watch my videos. So I hope that you gleaned some knowledge from this, and that you that you're a better person for this video. That was my intention. Thanks a lot, everyone. I gotta drop this off and then take a dip in the pool. This is just such a magnificent house. This is such a magnificent property. I mean, they literally blow the leaves, and it's a fake. It's not fake. It's real, but it's like one of those neighborhoods where it's like artificial reality, where everything is so perfect. A Stepford Housewives kind of business. Amazing. Anyways, there's the pool. I'll take a dip, and she's waiting for me. Wow, what a beautiful lady. I gotta go. Aloha.